Blender for Noobs.
Hello, this is Dan Nobles and welcome to Blender for Noobs. In this video tutorial, we're going to look at creating a plate, sort of like a metal plate with holes in it, which is something you might see on an engineering drawing. The last tutorial that I did a plate that was a fairly simple plate, and this one is fairly simple also, but it has kind of curved edges, so we're going to use the subdivision surface modifier on it. So let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is choose N, go into my background images, turn this on. I'm going to add an image, and I'm going to make this the top view and open an image that I've already downloaded off the internet that looks like this. And this is a piece that we're going to be creating. So I'm going to N out of this menu here, and let's get started. I'm going to just do a Shift A and create a plane. And scale this up a little bit here, and tab in edit mode, and let's Z into wireframe mode. I'm going to select these vertices down here and just scale along the x-axis, and grab these, scale along the x-axis, move them up a little bit, and we just want to outline the basic shape that we have here. Okay, so this is going to be our starting point. I'm going to tab back in object mode, and I'm going to go ahead and add the subdivision surface modifier on here. Let's just bump it up to 2 subdivisions. Tab back in edit mode, and now we're going to get this to conform to the shape that we need it to. In order to do that, we're going to need to add some loop cuts. So let's do a Control R, add some loop cuts. Use your mouse wheel to move up and create 2 loop cuts. And select them. Select again and scale along the X. Okay, and I'm just kind of looking at how this is conforming here. And Control R, add a loop cut to the side here. Just bring it down to where it needs to be so that this is where it needs to be. And I'm going to grab these 2 vertices here, scale along the X, move it over a little bit. Grab these 2, scale along the X, move it over a little bit, and you can see that it's starting to conform very nicely. Need something here so we can get this bend. So I'm going to do a Control R, loop cut right in the middle, and just select it where it is. Select this top vertice or vertex and drag it down so that it's conforming to that. Now, of course, if you're being very accurate with the drawing, then you'll want to adjust it quite a bit. But this is good enough for our purposes here, just so you can see what we're doing. Okay, so if we do an A select all, you can kind of see what kind of geometry that what we have right now. But what we need to do, or what I'd like to do, is I want to have geometry enclosing each one of these circles, which is going to be holes. And the reason that I want that is because once we create these holes, it's going to create a lot of edges that are going out in the different directions from those holes. And we don't want them to go, all over within the area that they are now, or we're going to have problems. But you'll kind of see what I mean as we go along, hopefully. So we need to add some more loop cuts. I'm going to do a Control R. I'm going to add one right here. So this is sort of like boxing in these 2 circles, or what will be holes. Control R, put one above these 2 circles. Okay, and we need one up here. So we have these 2 circles enclosed, and actually we need something that we can pull this edge out a little bit. So Control R, and probably something right there. We just want to grab these 2 vertices and do scale X, and maybe move them down a little bit. No, we don't want to move them down. Actually, we can move these over a little bit. Maybe move them up. Scale X. And then take these, oops, scale X. Okay, so we just want to make sure that we have these enclosed within a nice box, sort of. And then we got to look at the big circle as well, the big hole. So just move that up a little bit. So then if we go back to and select faces, if you select each one of these areas, then hopefully you'll see that you kind of have it segregated into its own area here. Same thing with the big circle here. It has its own area. Okay, so we got it all lined out the way we want. Actually, you can move these in a little bit. Again, just be as accurate, you know, with your drawing as you want to. I have no idea what I just did there. On to scale X. So anyway, if we tab out of that, go back out of wireframe mode, then we can see we have our basic shape here. 7 back into top view, and we want to Z back into wireframe mode. Okay, now we're going to create what are going to be the holes. So Shift A, Mesh, we're going to create a cylinder, and go into your Tools menu, T, and we want something like probably 8 would be fine. Actually, because this is subsurface, we could probably get away with 6. Let's try that. And we want the cap fill to be nothing, so that's fine. T back out of that. I'm going to do a Control up arrow and just go to a full view so we can see what we're doing here. So I'm just going to G move that into place, S scale it up. Okay, tab into edit mode so you're in the edit mode of your cylinder. Shift D duplicate, G move it, scale it down with the S key. And we'll say it's about that size right there. Shift D that one, move it. Shift D that one, move it. And I'm going to B-box select this one. Oops. Shift D, both of those, move them over here. And B-box select this one, Shift D, move it over here. Okay, and then tab back out of edit mode, and Z out of wireframe mode, and so you'll have something like this. Control up arrow back into this menu, and we want to be in the outliner, so just choose outliner here, and choose your plate, and I'm going to control click here, and I'm just going to call it plate. For the holes, I'm going to choose those and control click here and call them holes. Okay, so move your what's going to be your holes out of the way there, and choose the plate. And what we're going to do is we're going to create these holes using a Boolean modifier. So we're going to add another modifier. Choose Boolean, and we're going to use a difference operation. And for the object that we're using, we're going to choose the holes. So when we go back in here, select the holes, move them down, make sure that they all are intersecting your plate. So when you look at it, you now have holes in the plate. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so what you need to do now is select the plate and go ahead and apply the Boolean modifier. Okay, once you do that, you can select what's your basically your whole template here, and you can X delete it if you like. Okay, so we have holes in there, but as you can see, kind of took on the properties of those cylinders. So we want to choose 3 side view, tab into edit mode, and make sure you have the vertex selected. And I'm just going to B select all the bottom vertices. B select all the bottom vertices of the smaller holes, and then choose X, delete vertices. Okay, so now, as you can see, we have basically a plate with holes in it. Pretty cool. Okay, tab back into edit mode, and as you can see, some of these do not quite look round as they should. And that's because some of these vertices didn't quite get created like they should have. But hopefully you can see why I created that extra geometry, the squares around the holes. What it does is it causes these edges not to go all over the place, basically. It confines them into an area, so you can work with it better once you use the subsurface modifier. So what I'm going to do to fix this, I'm going to try to just select this vertex, shift select this one, and do a Alt-M and merge at last. And so it does fix it, but it kind of messes up the circle, so you can kind of drag that down if you like. Same thing with this. Select both of these, Alt-M at last. And so that pretty much fixes that well. We still have some issues here, but nothing that can't be fixed with some adjustments. Still looks kind of crappy, but you can go in there and make it accurate if you like. But once you have your plate there, it is now, it doesn't have any thickness to it, and you probably will want some thickness to your plate. So what we'll do is shift or tab into edit mode, choose A to select all, and we're just going to do an E-extrude. But when we do that, we want to make sure that we create some, basically create some extra edge loops and everything, so that it'll have some definition to it. And I'll kind of show you, let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. If I just E-extruded and created the thickness, and then we tab out of that, we can see, okay, it's got thickness, but it's kind of smooth around all of this. So you'll want to create edge loops. You'll do a Control-R, come in here, and create this edge loop, and you'll say, I want to do a scale along Z, and you can scale that up. And that creates that definition along the sides, but it doesn't create the definition within the circle. So you'd have to go into each one of these and start creating edge loops. Well, there's an easier way to do that. So I'm just going to back to our original plate here. I'm going to go 3 in a side view, zoom in here, and I'm just going to do an E-extrude and bring it down just a little bit, E-extrude, bring it down some more, which is going to be our main thickness of the plate, E-extrude, and just bring it down just a little bit more. And that's basically creating edge loops along everything that we have here. So now we have a lot of definition in there. We do need to smooth it, so bring up your tools menu with the T key and just choose smooth. And did that smooth it? There we go. So there we have it. That's our basic plate. So then what you can do, go back into 7 top view, and we can, if you want to, you can get a little bit more accurate. Tab in edit mode. I'm going to box select these vertices and just start moving them around to where they need to be. So that it looks more like a circle instead of whatever it was trying to be. Okay, still not perfect, but anyway, that gives you an idea of how to create a plate. So you might ask, though, what is the reason you would create something like this in Blender? Because you would probably normally do something like this in AutoCAD if you're creating a technical drawing. Well, probably in Blender you wouldn't, but just using the functions that we did in this can be used in other things. Like, for example, if you look at this plate, you could almost imagine this being part of like a dashboard on a car, where you would put the speedometer and other gauges, of course different size holes, but or the panels on a cockpit. So you could create something like that in order to start creating your details for where gauges go and that sort of thing. So you could use it for that and who knows what other purposes. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, leave any questions and comments that you want, and I'll see you in the next video.